Hey guys, and welcome back for another video. Today I'd like to talk to you about how to get the most out of Thunderhead peaks, especially if you're trying to farm up some of the branded mass for either the Diviner's stats or just to get the Dragonsblood weapon skins. Nothing I'm about to suggest is anything out of the realm of what you'll typically be doing in a new Living World map, but I still thought it could be useful to somebody who's trying to get branded mass as fast as possible. So the first and most obvious way to get some branded mass or any new currency in a Living World map is to harvest the new node. In our case, it'll be the Dragon Crystal node, and you can harvest this all across Thunderhead peaks. Unlike in some of the previous Living World episodes though, you won't just be able to switch characters and keep harvesting. Instead, it seems to be account bound this time, and you can only harvest 25 per day. The Dragon Crystal nodes you'll need to harvest appear all over the map, but if you haven't quite hit 25, you can harvest a few that only appear at the end of the Thunderhead Keep meta event. Outside of gathering nodes, your next best method of obtaining branded mass is probably going to be completing some daily hearts and converting karma into branded mass. Each time a repeatable heart is completed, you'll be able to purchase up to 5 branded mass, and there are 4 repeatable hearts in Thunderhead peaks. Unlike the gathering nodes though, you will be able to repeat those hearts on multiple characters, and the best way to get the most out of this is to do just that. As long as you have the extra characters in karma, you'll be able to get some extra branded mass every day. Now, since you'll be repeating these hearts, you probably want to be able to complete them as fast as possible, so I've tried to figure out which is the most efficient way of completing each one of these hearts. So if you head over to History's End Waypoint, we can get started on the first heart. Right next to this heart vendor on a wagon, you'll see a Priory scan gun, and you'll want to pick that up. This will give you access to a new special action hotkey that, upon activation, will change your skill bar. You'll be using the scan gun on nearby dig sites to find some dwarven artifacts, and by using that gun to identify those artifacts, as well as collecting and returning those to the nearby heart vendor, you'll be able to complete this heart fairly quickly. The closest dig site is directly south of the heart vendor itself, and once you're close enough, you'll be able to activate your first skill to scan for artifacts, use your second skill to summon a scrit to retrieve that artifact, and then use your third skill in order to unearth whatever that artifact is. Now, you're not guaranteed to find an artifact every single time. Sometimes a scrit will come and steal the artifact, and other times an ice worm will spawn, and you can take that out for some additional heart progress as well. That being said, if you should unearth a dwarven artifact, be sure to pick it up, and before heading back to the heart vendor to turn it in for a little bit more progress, head southeast from your first dig site until you see a fireplace, and just beyond that you should see a bit of a chasm that you'll need to jump. I recommend using your raptor mount to make this jump over to another fireplace, and here you'll see your second dig site. Again, just use your Priory scan gun to hopefully unearth some dwarven artifacts, and now I recommend going back to the heart vendor to turn in any artifacts that you unearthed. On your way back, if you have a griffin mount, you can easily make the jump that you just made with your raptor right back to that platform, but if you don't have the griffin mount just yet, you can use the nearby wooden bridge to get back to that area. The dwarven artifacts that you find come in a small and large variety, and the only difference is how much heart progress you get for turning those in. The dig sites themselves appear to be on around about a minute timer before they refresh, so you can actually just head over to that first dig site and you'll probably end up waiting about 10 seconds or so before it refreshes. You can hover your mouse over the dig site itself, and your mouse cursor will actually change whenever this becomes interactable again, and you'll basically just need to bounce between these two dig sites until you complete the heart. South from that heart, head over to the Moorage waypoint, and from here you just need to head south towards the Corsair supply caches on some platforms that are constantly being bombarded by branded lightning and are covered in branded enemies. Defeating the branded enemies here will give you some heart progression, but I recommend mostly focusing on collecting those Corsair supplies. It should be mentioned that you can be knocked off of the platform and you'll have to walk back around to get started again, so just be wary of your footing. In my experience, collecting around 20 Corsair supplies seems to be enough, especially if you've been getting some progress from defeating a few enemies, but to truly get credit for picking up those Corsair supplies, you'll need to drop them off just south of the heart at the Forge supply pile. So make sure you're turning these in or you won't get any credit. The next heart is located just to the south of the Revolution's Heart waypoint, and right next to that waypoint you'll be able to do some fishing. There are no fishing poles, rather you'll just be headed over to some baskets that have some tuna bait surrounding them. Picking up the tuna bait will change your skill bar, and in the nearby water you should see some motion, and you'll just need to use your second skill to bait that fish out of the water. water. The fish itself will fly out of the water and onto the land, and you'll just need to pick that fish up and take it back to the basket for some credit. Be mindful of what you're actually interacting with, because it is possible to be holding a fish and interact with the tuna bait, and this basically just deletes the fish and you'll have to do it all over again. If you're in a relatively unpopulated map, you'll be able to complete this heart with just fishing, but that's not always the case. So if you end up in a map where you can get some of the progress with fishing, but it's taking a while, feel free to head closer to the heart itself, and you'll want to look for some discouraged dredge excavators. Speaking with these NPCs, you'll be given some dialogue options, and you basically just need to inspire them to not be so discouraged. Doing this isn't as consistent as fishing, but if you're in a high population map and you're having a hard time completing this heart, this is a bit of a workaround to get the rest of your progression. The fourth and final heart is located at the Heart of the Forge waypoint, or the waypoint right next to the forge, and you'll just need to make your way towards the heart. Follow the one path out of the forge, and you'll see as the hallway opens up into a room that you're given another special action hotkey. Again, here we'll be looking for some more discouraged NPCs, and this time you'll actually see a red icon above their head. By pressing that special action hotkey nearby, you'll give a speech and cheer them up. As you make your way around this room, you will notice there are groups of discouraged people, and that's where the bar above your head that appears when you enter this room will come into play. Each time you inspire someone who is discouraged, you'll notice that bar fills up a little bit, and it's only once you've filled that bar all the way up and it's turned solid green that you'll actually be able to inspire entire groups of people. In my experience, it takes about 6 single discouraged people before you max out that bar, and inspiring that many people does give you a good chunk of heart progression, so you want to do that as soon as you can. I should also mention that you can use that special action hotkey while mounted, which makes this part even faster than it already is. Keep in mind that each time you complete one of these hearts, you do want to return to the vendor and convert your karma into the branded mass. Outside of gathering and repeatable hearts, you can complete some daily activities on the Thunderhead Peaks map that will get you 1 branded mass per daily activity. These will be things like opening 3 dwarven chests, collecting any 3 of 5 dwarven plates in the dwarven catacombs, collecting 10 branded mass, defeating the Vile Oil Slug Sullypix or the Wrathbringer, completing any 2 renowned hearts, opening 5 hidden Deldrimore chests in the dwarven catacombs, killing 25 branded, and completing one of the adventures. So you can see the vast majority of these daily activities fit pretty well into the things you're already going to be doing on this map. Personally, I don't find completing adventures or farming some dwarven chests to be all that time efficient, so I tend to ignore these ones when they're active, and out of all of those dailies I listed, only 4 will be active each day, so you'll have to make your best out of which ones are randomly chosen. Beyond all of that, there is still one way to farm some more branded mass if you're really trying to get those diviner stats or those Dragonsblood weapon skins, and that's just to play some competitive game modes with the Thunderhead Peaks reward track activated. You won't have this reward track unlocked until you complete the Scion and Champion story step, or the very first story step for this Living World season, so just make sure you've completed that story step, you've activated the Thunderhead Peaks reward track, and begin playing your favorite competitive game mode. Completing the entire reward track will get you another 60 branded mass, but this does take a bit longer, and obviously depends at least a little bit on how well you can play in those competitive modes. So once per day, I would recommend completing the North and South meta events, as well as completing the Dwarven Catacombs. Since each one of those meta events takes place an hour after one another, I would use the time in between to complete some repeatable hearts, as well as harvest some of those crystal dragon nodes. With all 25 account-bound dragon crystal nodes harvested and your 4 renowned hearts completed, you can switch characters and start completing those repeatable hearts again. If you want to go this route, I recommend going to the Forge and going to the volatile magic vendor, who will sell you a portal scroll, and this will easily allow any other character on your account, level 80 anyway, to teleport to Thunderhead Peaks and start completing those hearts. If you're not completely sick of farming branded mass at that point, you could go on to play some competitive modes, and if you intend to do both of these, I recommend alternating between completing repeatable hearts and playing some competitive modes to keep things fresh. As a last and final slow method of gaining some branded mass, you can map complete the Thunderhead Peaks for 25 branded mass on any character that you like. Personally, I think this takes just a little bit too long to make it worthy of a farm, but at the same time, if you want that extra 25 branded mass, there you go. On the whole, you'll mostly be using branded mass to make diviner stats or the new Dragonsblood weapon skins, but you can get some minis as well. That being said, if you're not really interested in those rewards, there's really no reason to go for the branded mass. Anyway guys, to anybody out there trying to get some diviner stats or unlock those new weapon skins, I hope you found this helpful. I am trying something a little bit new with the Living World this time around at least, so if you'd like to see more guides on how to complete hearts quickly, if there's like a resource or something tied to them, I could go back and do some guides on some previous maps if you guys think that would be helpful. If not, expect more of the same kind of videos in the future. As always guys, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.